Well, Edie, we did it. You're actually on the Leaders Who Care series. It's amazing.
Thank you. My pleasure to be here. I'm glad we were able to connect.
And thank you for bringing the paradise weather of Miami and my favorite palm trees to the table here.
My pleasure. I say we live here for November 1 through April 1 when the weather is spectacular. April 1 to November 1, a little too hot, but it is what it is.
It is. I used to have two coconut palms in my backyard in Fort Lauderdale, and they were awesome as long as you made sure that one didn't fall on your head when you walked under it.
This is true. Very true.
So, well, we always say the best ways to start is if you could briefly introduce yourself, but not about what you do or what you've done, a little bit about where you're from originally, where you are now, which we know, whatever you feel comfortable talking about your family, maybe something you've never told anybody before you want to reveal to the world now, stuff like that.
Sure. Well, I would say, first of all, I started as a little girl. I was born and raised in my younger years in New Jersey and then moved to the city until I moved to Florida. It's hard to believe I've been in Florida, South Florida, for 44 years and told as a little girl, get a great education, find your passion and follow it. So that has always been my guiding force. I'm one of five kids, the fourth of five, a 13-year age difference between the five of us. And just a wonderful family. And so, what my life has always been about is very simple order: God, family, friends, charity, etc. So, I really use sort of God as my North Star and my family always as my best friends and my benchmark. And of course, wonderful husband, my grown son. They are my two best friends, as well as my siblings and large group of friends that are like family to me. When I'd say something, I've never said before, something I don't say publicly, probably would be just my spirituality. I'm very much a peaceful soul. I love God, and I really let that sort of faith in God and as simple as the Ten Commandments guide my life.
Amen on that. If we could only follow just the Ten Commandments, we'd probably so much better. It's amazing. And do you ever wonder when pro teams on both sides, especially football, they pray to God and which one God's going to prefer to win? Do you ever wonder that?
I guess, but I guess everything's for a reason. So all things in time, like the Dodgers winning the World Series. I guess it was their time in history to win 2 years in a row, right? But I guess God loves all of us. And like a parent, I say sometimes you have to do what's best for the good of the family, and it might not always sit well with the other members of the family.
Or like State Farm, like a good neighbor, you know?
Definitely, definitely. And I'm actually blessed here. I've got great neighbors here. So
Yeah.
wonderful.
That is a key also. We need a little more of that, neighborhood
Yeah.
community stuff. What were you like as a kid with your siblings and whatnot? Were you like a tomboy or a dolly type of girl, or were you a lemonade stand, sports, music, tech? What were you into?
Well, first of all, I was always a girly girl. I mean, a girly girl. And I was, in all candor, a spoiled brat. I mean, I was telling somebody the story when my eldest brother, my younger sister, and I are a year apart. And my mother, God rest her soul, used to say, the complete dichotomy, complete opposites, night and day. Same mother and father, 14 months apart, but completely opposite. So we used to go to the beach growing up. My brothers would have to carry me. I couldn't have a spot of sand on me. They'd lay out the blanket before they could put me down, the umbrella, and I'd sit there like the little princess at a year old and or 2 years old. And then my 1 year old sister would be eating the sand and rolling in the sand. So complete opposites. But sadly, I was a spoiled brat, and I'm not proud of it. And but a lot of love. I was spoiled because I had two great brothers, an older sister, a younger sister, and I was just always spoiled. But most importantly, spoiled with love. And so I'm glad I outgrew that, shall we say?
So
you
are
know,
all of us.
you you live life and you outgrow that. And so I certainly outgrew that in my late teens, early 20s, I would say. Thank God.
Oh, it took till that long, huh?
But I was always a girly girl, never really a tomboy. And the one time I remember I was playing football with my brothers, and I actually broke my wrist when I was 8 years old because I fumbled, fell, and my wrist hit the tree, and there I was in a cast for the next 6 or 8 weeks. So but I just always loved adventure. I love traveling the world from a little girl, seeing and doing everything from museums to shopping to food. And of course, as you grow up, food and wine and things of that nature. But always a real curiosity for life, a real hunger for learning, grow till you go. So I was, just that passion has never changed. That insatiable desire to learn and grow has never changed as well.
So we'll get into this later, but you weren't just cruising through life, but you were cruising life.
Yeah, basically, I mean, always at every stage in life, traveling as a kid with family, then in my teen years, the way I fell in love with South Florida was coming down here on spring break with my girlfriends every year and just having a ball and not liking the cold New York winters. And I'd say, someday I'm going to try living there and just try it. And I tried it for a year, and a year actually now has become 44 years. But I will say the caveat to that and why I lasted living here. And back 44 years ago, South Florida from Palm Beach to Miami was not what it is today. What it is today is on fire and amazing. But back then it was a little bit different. I think we had one sports team when I moved here. Now look at what we have. We had one museum. Now look at what we have. And the list goes on and on. But I just really enjoyed it. And why I was able, I guess, to last living here, especially back then, was because working in the travel industry. I mean, I was in New York at least once a month. I got to see my family. I got my shot of New York. So that flexibility really allowed me to love living here and knowing it was just a 2 hour flight whenever I wanted to be home.
So did you get hired by the Chamber of Commerce?
No, but I easily could work for the Chamber of Commerce or be an ambassador
Well,
for South Florida because I do
I
love it
could,
here.
yeah, I could relate because I did the same from college coming down to Miami the whole time. I never thought I'd live there, but then got recruited to work in Coral Gables, and the rest was history for about 22 years. Half
All
of the
right.
44, but 22 years, and I still love it there. Um, School-wise, you went to Nova Southeastern, then you threw in Harvard, Stanford, and Wharton just for kicks. But what were you envisioning back then? Both getting your bachelor's and then the continuing education.
So back to that, get a great education, find your passion and follow it. When I was very little, when I was young, I was always going to be a lawyer. I wanted to be a lawyer. And in the most humble respect, I probably would have made a damn good lawyer. And my younger sister, we used to say that together. And, my dad had us memorize the preamble to the Constitution before we could read. We could recite that from memory at 3 and 4 years old, we the people. So when I was younger, I wanted to be a lawyer. And then this wanderlust for travel took over. And so I have Bachelor of Science. And yes, Nova is my alma mater, now called Nova Southeastern University, a great school to go to in the sunshine, if you will.
Hmm.
But I do have a lot of these mini mantras that I call Edieisms, and one of them is grow till I go. Till the day I die, I'm going to be learning. As long as God blesses me with a sound mind, I'm an insatiable reader, doer, and I love to learn still at this stage in my life, just as much as when I
Why
was
not?
that little girl. So for me, it's very important, especially in leadership roles, to perpetually stay ahead of the curve, if you will. So, every year I put it upon myself to take a continuing education course. And if I'm going to do that, I want to do that obviously at the most prestigious universities in the world. So that's why I've done all of these courses. And whatever stage I'm in, as an example, Harvard, the women's leadership course was fantastic. And I asked the professor, how is this different than the generic leadership? And she was fantastic. She said, really, it's just the only difference is the camaraderie because of 53 women from 47 countries around the world. The conversation and the sidebars get different. So things like that. And then, now being on a lot of corporate boards, private, public, charity, Wharton, as an example, had fantastic course, Boards That Lead. So whatever stage in life I'm at, I like to perpetually continue to learn. And to that end, right now, with this whole AI tsunami coming on, I feel a fiduciary responsibility as a board member, as an individual, to try to stay ahead. I go to Bitcoin conferences, things like that. So for me, it's just, I will do that till the day I die because I love to learn. And technology changing as rapidly as it does, to be a good board member, you need to know the right questions to ask. I mean, I remember even my time, I was on the board of RAND Corporation, which is a great global think tank, and that was for the Center for Global Risk and Security. So if people don't take tech risk and fraud as a major thing, and what they worked on, and particularly when I was on that board with people like Peter Norton from Norton Virus, Henry Kissinger, God rest his soul when he was alive, was about individual identity theft from the individual right up to nations and countries and things of this nature. So I have a very eclectic appetite for what I like to learn, and anything that interests me, from everything from, a passion for fashion, which is a side hobby love, to AI and cybersecurity, etc. So I try to be well-rounded.
I feel like Jay Leno, who was interviewing Robin Williams, and he used to say, all I had to do was say, "Hey, Robin," and the rest was history.
Well, I was born an extrovert and I never run out of words.
But
Sometimes
you,
my husband wishes I would.
but you still don't want to get sand between your toes. Is that right?
Well, no, I actually love
Now you
sand
do.
between my toes now. So things
So,
change. Life is about perpetual evolution and we grow till we go. And I do love sand between my toes. The beach and the sea
yeah.
are probably two of my favorite places on earth, to be out on the water, in the water, swimming,
Well,
walking along the
next
beach.
time you come visit, we'll just go 5 minutes this way, and we'll go have lunch on the beach. How's that?
Love it.
Um, so you get kind of given a glimpse of some of your experiences leading to, we'll get to the cruise line industry, but are there one or two specific experiences or inflection points that you've had in your journey that stand out and that had an impact on your future?
Oh God, so many. I would say that's a really great question. So just loving life in general, because I always, when I was young, very different than painting in broad strokes and generalizing perhaps these millennials and younger generations from that. It was always fiercely important for me to be independent. Really, my goal was that I wanted to be independent in every way, shape, and form. That doesn't mean I'm not very, a feminine woman who loves
Mhm.
being married to my husband and, the co-pilot, if you will, in our marriage. No, I like being a woman married to a man, et cetera, et cetera. But I always wanted to be financially independent and free to do the things that I wanted. So that was also a driving force, that personal goal to know I didn't have, the minute I turned 18, it was like, I don't want to rely on my parents financially or otherwise. I don't want to, a lot of my girlfriends wanted to get married, live happily ever after, and never work. I never wanted that. I wanted to just prove to myself that I could just live my life being reliant on God and myself. And that meant financially, every way, shape,
Hmm.
and form. And so that was a big, I guess, decision maker in my life, and part of why I love working so hard and still love working hard. So I would say that's one key thing. And I would say I don't like the word failure, because there are no failures. We learn from them. And if we're smart,
Right.
hopefully we really learn from challenging situations. So I would say having challenging situations where you don't respect perhaps the people you work for. And so I have a very simple saying: if it's not legal, moral, or ethical, it's not getting my signature. And in the CEO seat, my right hand is my CFO, my left hand is my general counsel. And if we three don't agree, we're not giving signatures. So sometimes you maybe learn the disingenuousness of people's real
Right.
foundation. and you just don't want to be a part of it. So it's interesting. Life is perpetual learning. And so sometimes you work for and with really great people and organizations, and sometimes not so much. And it's important to learn from those experiences, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, there was a story about a Nigerian girl a long time, quite a bit ago, not that long, and she learned how to play chess. Make a long story short, and then she got better, and then she got better, and then she got mentored in Nigeria and got even better, and then she went international and totally unexpected and got better. And they asked her, "What does it feel like when you lose?" And she says, "No, I've never lost." And they said, "Well, what do you mean?" "Well, I win and I learn. I don't win and lose." Just to your
I
point.
love it. Very well said. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. Listen, life isn't perfect. There's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be what she says, winning and learning. And I love that. I think she articulates that philosophy in her verbiage very well. But it is a
Happened.
philosophical approach. And philosophically, that's how I look at life with everything. I also feel like everything is a blessing in disguise. Even when it doesn't go the way you wanted it, there are always reasons, and embrace that. Don't be sad over it. I embrace it. I say, okay, next move.
Well, most sports teams, including my Florida Panthers, have to lose a championship before they win a championship. And
Yeah.
so we did lose 3 years ago, the Stanley Cup final, but then we
Yeah.
won 2 years in a row. So we'll see what happens this year, but it's true in sports and it's true in everything. Our firm was founded on the premise. First of all, by the way, we launched our firm 7 years ago at the UN headquarters in New York on International Women's Day because we do a lot of work in women leadership. Plus, I
Fabulous.
really like working with women more than men, to be honest with you. I don't dislike working with men, but I do. And and we're all about talent, leadership, and impact, and tech supports that, doesn't take over that, it supports it. Describe the vision, the mission you had when you became, into the cruise line industry and then president, an industry obviously where customer experience is the whole ball game. Um, you know, what was the vision and mission for you and what drove you there?
Well, my mission in getting into the travel industry, back to that fierce independence, the other part of that was that my passion was simply that I wanted to travel the world in the most luxurious manner, and how was I going to fund that independently? And that was what led me to a career in travel. And I'm very proud to say I was one of these individuals that started literally at the bottom, working weekends, travel advisor in New York, starting my career, and worked my way up progressively to every piece of the business. So when I say I would never ask a team member to do something I wouldn't or couldn't have done myself, I sincerely mean it. Now, can I be the captain of a ship? I could be if I wanted to go back to school and do that. But no, but that's where you get that great team effort and respect people in their positions and their
Right.
roles and all work together. But what led me there was just wanting to travel the world in the most luxurious manner. And then with progressive promotions, it was what led to one day Crystal's chairman came calling. And when I accepted that role and went to Crystal at that point in time was a 23-year-old brand that had never with a capital N made money. I guess the then NYK Japanese ownership was acceptable to them, but it wasn't acceptable to me coming into that
Sure.
role. My first 8 months of leadership there, we did a $51 million EBITDA turnaround from 41 million negative to 10 million positive. And that is when the owners said to me, Edie, we never thought we could get here. I mean, I could show you the letters, the you know, fabulous accolades from them because they were so happy. Now they were going to be in a position to sell. And I said, fine, if you want to sell, I'll get us into a bidding war. And that's exactly what happened. So we engaged JP Morgan, sold the company at a then record-breaking 15 times EBITDA, and the rest was history. Stayed on as CEO and president. And respectfully, we learned from mistakes. Quite honestly, I sold to the wrong people. They had a different agenda, and it was not an agenda I wanted to continue with. And it wasn't a question of if, what we were very successful under my tenure, turning profits. I stand on my numbers. My father, God rest his soul, used to say, a very street wise term. liars never figure, figures never lie. I
Right.
stand on the numbers. I was very successful and my numbers spoke for themselves, but the owners had a different agenda. And so myself and my colleagues that closest to me in that role, we all knew what they were trying to do. And it wasn't a question of if, but when they would bankrupt the company. And we didn't want to be part of that. And we left. And sadly, they did bankrupt the company. Luckily, a very nice gentleman invested and they're reviving the brand. And I wish them much success. But I'm also one of these people, we don't look back. We learn from the past. Somebody has this expression and I borrow it from them. I didn't create it, but there is a reason the rear view mirror is so small and the windshield is so big. So we look back, we learn from it, but we really have a great canvas to move forward. And so that's sort of the history there. But I love leadership and it is the team. And even now, all these years later, I still get fabulous notes. And I got a fantastic note. They reach out to me on social media and other ways. And I got a fantastic note from one of the crew members just saying how much that he and the crew members really adored working with me because it's about respect. I mean, I remember my first town hall meeting on board. They asked me, what should we call you? I said, Edie. My name is Edie. You can call me Edie. I had an open door, open email policy, and that's always been my policy. There's
You know,
nothing like the people doing the job. Any idea is a good idea. No question is a stupid question. And let's all work together. But you have to be passionate. And that expression, hire for the personality and train for the skill, I think is very true. And so it's about the people always.
well, now you're talking about my business when you're talking about and leaders, if you will, leaders who care know that it's all about the people. Even with all the tech there is and all the tech that's coming, they still know it's all about the people. And Pat Riley said something others do too. You know, a legacy is when you have all your assistant coaches and all the people below you that turn out to be fantastic leaders somewhere else. And that usually turns out pretty good for business too. And to your point, also, one of my favorite quotes, if not my favorite, is Maya Angelou, who said, most people forget what you've said, they forget what you've done, but they will always remember how you made them feel. And
Very true.
and it goes from there. So and in an industry of customer experience, which is the main thing, which should be probably the number one factor for almost every business, that's a big deal. I want to move a little bit towards now. What you're doing now and stuff. And you kind of touched on this a little bit. They say the fourth industrial revolution is about AI and tech, which is a no-brainer. It is. But they're also saying the fifth is about humanity and how that comes together. Can you share a little bit about your work now as a global luxury and travel advisor, which had been concurrent even when you were with Crystal, if I'm not mistaken? And I also love the part, and we've talked about this, how did you become a board member of the Saudi Tourism Authority?
So a lot of questions to unpack there.
No, there were
And
only two.
all right, fair enough, fair enough. So what I would say is, first of all, I do a lot of what I do is under NDA, so I'll speak to what I can speak to. So painting in broad strokes and generalizing, I advise a lot of mega cap private equity on a lot of different global deals, and I'll just suffice to say, leave it there. But the interesting thing with regard to Saudi, first of all, I'm very, very bullish on everything going on in the KSA and everything in line with their Vision 2030. So when I left Crystal, I was at a point in my career where I was going to do things my way on steroids because what a great time in life. And so I was recruited to be chairwoman of a luxury brand for cruising, which I said, okay, I'm going to do this. But I was also called upon by a recruiter for the KSA that said, listen, the PIF would like you to become a special advisor on a project. And as the PIF does, like a lot of private equity does, they go through a due diligence process and decide go, no go, if they want to invest in a company, create a company, et cetera. So that's what happened. I was the only woman in the room with all these fabulous ministers, brilliant people, and working on as a special advisor to the PIF was my genesis of my engagement with them about 8 years ago. And then that morphed into being asked to be a member of the board of directors from the Saudi Tourism Authority since its inception. And as term limits do in governance, I just rolled off of that board and am in the process of doing a couple of other things over there. And in fact, I'm leaving in a few days to go back over there for their inaugural Tourize Summit, which will become sort of just like FII that I attended every year and spoke at a couple of years ago. Their Davos in the Desert, to me, is the most iconic conference anywhere in the world. And I think that's what's going to happen with Tourize now that His Excellency, the Minister of Tourism, inaugurated this. And I just think it will become the most iconic travel conference
Well,
annually going forward. But that's how it started. And they are amazing to work with. And a lot of people say to me, oh, aren't you afraid to go there as an American blonde woman? I'm like, you people don't know what you don't know. First of all, I feel safer there than going to New York City. It is an amazing place. It is just on fire with what they're doing in their multi-trillion-dollar investment in Vision 2030, not to mention World Expo coming there in 2030, World Cup in 2034. And it is just an amazing, fabulous place. And I've made
they're even hosting the South Asian Winter Sports
Yes, well,
Championship.
they have ski resorts there. They're building in Trojena. People don't know what they don't know. They have more UNESCO World Heritage sites, more history. Their coral reefs are beautiful. I mean, the list goes on and on. It is a fascinating, fascinating country, kingdom, and I'm very bullish, as I started with, on all they are doing, particularly vis-a-vis tourism. They've got a great group of people leading that, and I think that anything they do there, they really should have their KSA nationals leading the charge. So I just love, I've made great friends. And so to answer your question, how did I start with them? I was approached by a search firm saying the PIF would like to hire you as a special advisor. That was 8 years ago when women didn't drive. They only dressed in abayas and a myriad of other things. And now it's all transition. Women drive. You can wear regular Western
Yeah.
clothing, on and on and on. So I say kudos to them and wish them nothing but continued success and love being a part of everything they're doing there.
Yeah, I agree. I had a great experience the first time going there, and it's going to continue. In fact, I'm tentatively getting ready to leave December the 1st to head there as well. So we'll talk about that. Um, Last question, and you kind of referred to this a little bit. Where do you see the future going? What's ahead for you, the future going? AI is moving fast and furious. There are a lot of layoffs happening because of it. However, there's also a lot of positive about that AI may be, and I'm having a lot of discussions with executives about this. AI may actually be the technology that finally does redefine work and has more and more people happier doing what they're doing in what we call work, whatever that may be. What's your brief thoughts on that?
Well, I'm one of these people who embrace change. So if you embrace change, you will welcome all of these new technologies, but figure out how to make them work for you. So with regard to AI, I think AI brings some fantastic features, and it's the old business school principle, garbage in, garbage out. If you know how to ask it the right questions and continue to refine it, it can help pretty much whatever your role in life is, work, personal, et cetera, et cetera. So I would say learn, embrace it, learn about it, but don't rely on it exclusively. And
Right.
I think a lot's what going to happen is that you're still going to need a subject matter expert who can utilize AI in whatever the field is, but then become a great proofreader because you've really got to redo it. And I feel sorry for younger generations that if that's the way school and learning is going, they're not going to be as independent mentally as I am. My girlfriends go shopping with me. They like me better than the calculator because I can do the math in my head. Oh, it's 50% off plus another 20% plus 7% tax. I'll give them the number of what that item's really going to cost them in a nanosecond, quicker than they standing there on their phone typing it into their calculator on the phone. Because of the way I was taught and the way I learned all those years ago in school. Sadly, when these kids are going to school and they're not even learning how to write cursive, to me, there's something wrong with that picture. But I would say embrace it, learn from it, but don't 100% rely on it, and figure out whatever your business or whatever your passion, how you can adapt it to your business. Will some jobs go away? Probably, but
Hmm.
then we'll just reinvent in a different way. But at the end of the day, I don't care how articulate or how savvy somebody is in technology and utilizing AI in the travel world, in booking online. There is nothing like the human touch and eye to eye contact. It is simply the way God made us. And in my opinion, that's never going to go away. And I don't want it to go away. The
No.
extrovert that I am, I love human interaction. So I think that everybody has to figure it out for themselves, but they should take these myriad of courses that are complimentary online to learn about AI and better educate themselves to be empowered, to be better prepared for this tsunami of AI tech that's coming at us every day in different ways.
Yeah, I agree. It's the same as, the PCs and the Macs. It's the same as the internet. It's same. It'll be faster, bigger, whatever. But it's like Maya Angelou said. It's everybody will remember how you make them feel, and that
Mhm.
becomes the number one thing. So I got one more question because in LA we say keep them wanting more so we can do a sequel. That's what we do here. So we'll go one more question. I had a client in 2021 tell me about the year 2020, the pandemic year, that it was the year that flew by slowly. And I thought, what a great line. And even today, people look at COVID that it's like it was yesterday and years ago, all at the same time. With all that said, we're already at the end of 2025, amazingly. What are you most grateful for and what are you most hopeful for?
Well, first of all, I'm grateful for life. I'm grateful, in fact, that the pandemic is behind us, and I really don't think about it. And of course, any company has to plan for if and when something of that nature occurs again and how it affects us. As
Hmm.
an example, like a government shutdown, I travel a lot, and people that I know that have traveled yesterday and the day before say, oh, it's slower, so you have to bring a lot of extra patients, blah, blah, blah. But I am thankful just for life, an attitude. I live my life with an attitude of gratitude. So I got up this morning saying, looking out into my backyard that you see behind me and saying, thank you, God. Thank you for
Hold it.
this beautiful day.
I thought you got up saying, well, hey, I'm talking to Mark.
Well, a little bit of that too at 9 a.m. But I get up at 4 or 5 a.m. and I like watching the sunrise and I like walking my 10,000 steps for an hour and 40 minutes every morning. So I just am thankful for the little things like this nature, like what you see behind me, and a great cup of coffee in the morning. So
I
I
know the feeling.
appreciate the little things and then of course the bigger things. And I think what the future holds is like somebody once said, life is what you make it. Figure out your passion and make that your life and enjoy every minute of it and every step along the way. And a big part of also what I do, I love mentoring young people in particular because I think there's a lot that they can learn from us. And I love that mutual mentoring where companies have 35 years and older, if you will, 35 plus, they get a 35 under, and the two of them have mutual mentoring because there's so much we can learn from each other. And I think
Yep.
that that's what life is about, learning from each other every day, giving back and enjoying the simple things. And that's really how I live my life.
Well, going back to my sports analogies, there's a reason that championship teams have veterans and rookies on the team at the same time, because that's what wins. So I'm grateful for a new friend for sure. So thanks for that, and that you are a leader who cares. A little more energy and passion would be valuable, but I mean it's pretty good as it stands, and I'm hopeful actually for the same thing. So maybe one day, not only will we get together in Miami, but we'll get together in Riyadh as well and do something together. So thanks for being on the series.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. And I'll be in Riyadh next week. So if you're there, please let me know. And just to all of your viewers, thank you for your time. And I wish everybody a fabulous day when you're watching this and a fabulous lifetime. Life is what you make it. So go make yours great. Thank you.
Amen.